Hello guys, this is your friend Naruto Audio Fanfics and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto Uzumaki chose ANBU over Jiraiya? Strong Naruto times Kurenai times Shizune times Yugao times Tsunade times Anko, Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Upon arriving home the previous day, Naruto had asked Tsunade what she had done about the letter he had sent her. Getting the reply that she had sent an ANBU team led by Kakashi to search the area, but wouldn't be expecting a reply till the next day, Naruto had given her his mission report before agreeing to meet her back at the tower the following day. Naruto was now on his way to the Hokage Tower, Yugao following slightly behind him. Do you think Kakashi-senpai is back yet, Naruto-kun? Yugao asked, getting a sigh out of her blonde friend. I don't know, Yugao-chan, I hope so. With Kakashi's Sharingan he should at least be able to pick something up. Naruto replied, although a little unsure of his own statement. Whoever it was the night before had been able to slip by him unnoticed, something that had not happened to him in a long time. Whoever it was, they were very good at hiding their presence, even from me. I know. That's what bothers me, Naruto-kun. What if he comes back before we are ready for him? Yugao asked. A sense of hopelessness laced her voice that Naruto hadn't heard in a very long time, making his eyes soften slightly. Honestly, I'm not sure, Yugao-chan. Naruto started, but from what I gathered from our brief encounter he still had a long time to go until he had reached his full power. Same goes for both of us as well. There are still so many jutsus that I have yet to learn and master. We have time to train, become stronger. We both have access to my family's jutsu library, and I know for a fact that you want to learn the Uzumaki Kenjutsu style. Thank you, Naruto-kun. You're right, we both have time to grow, along with everyone else. You don't have to shoulder this burden on your own. I'll always be there to help you, and I'm sure there are others who feel the same way. Yugao said with a smile, earning a nod in return from Naruto. Thank you, Yugao-chan. I know that I have people I can count on in the Leaf, as well as other areas around the elemental nations, but we will all need to be at our best to deal with not only the Akatsuki, but this new threat as well. Naruto replied, but we should hurry to see Ba-chan. She said that Kakashi should be arriving around this time and I would like to be there for his report. Yugao replied with a nod as both she and Naruto quickened their pace towards the Hokage Tower. Hokage Tower. Tsunade sighed as she gazed at the scarecrow Junin that had just entered her office. She could tell from how he held himself that they hadn't found much, if anything, as to who Naruto might have encountered the night before. Pressing the button on her intercom she called for Shizune to send someone to find Naruto. No need for that, Ba-chan, I'm already here. Naruto said as he entered the window, making a tick mark appear on Tsunade's forehead. Sorry, Tsunade-sama, I tried to stop him but he isn't a very good listener. Yugao said as she too appeared in the window. Tell me something I don't already know. Tsunade scoffed, earning a smirk from Naruto as he took a seat beside Kakashi, Yugao sitting next to him. So, did you manage to find anything, Kakashi-sensei? Naruto asked. Not much, Naruto. There were traces of chakra around the area, then a single trail leading away from the clearing. But we didn't get very far before it disappeared completely. If I had to guess, it was a long-range jutsu, very long range. Which would mean it would take a great deal of both chakra and control to be able to hold it for as long as you say they did. Kakashi stated, earning a nod from Naruto. In a way, it resembles when Zabuza used the hidden mist technique on us during our first mission to Wave and made his voice reverberate through the fog, making it seem like he was everywhere at once. Naruto summarized, earning a nod from Kakashi. The Cyclops is right, brat. I could sense the chakra was being sent from far away, but inside this seal I couldn't tell just how far. The chakra felt old, almost, very old, full of memory and anger. A voice inside Naruto's mind spoke, making the blonde's eyes widen slightly, attracting the attention of the others. Are you alright, Naruto-kun? Yugao asked, slight worry in her voice. Yay, I'm fine, Yugao-chan. The Kyuubi just had something to say on the matter. Naruto replied, making the others have the same reaction he just did. What did it say? Kakashi asked, making Naruto sigh as he heard a slight growling in the back of his mind. He said that you were right about it being a long-range jutsu, but inside the seal he wasn't able to tell just how far the chakra came from. He also said that the chakra felt old, full of memories and anger. Naruto said, how old exactly? Could he tell? Tsunade asked, if they could get an age they might be able to narrow the search down. No, I couldn't tell exactly, but it felt older than Madara, which means it goes back to before Konoha became a village. Kyuubi said, making Naruto frown. The fox said it felt older than Madara's chakra, which means it is also older than Konoha. This means that we most likely won't be able to trace it back to anyone, as there are no records from before that time. Naruto said, earning a nod from the rest present. Kyuubi, I would like to ask you to keep looking into this. You are the only one who would have information from a time before the great villages were formed. Our lives are connected. If I were to die, so would you, and while we may not see eye to eye on most things, I don't want you to die just because I wasn't strong enough, even though you would eventually reappear. Naruto said in his mind, slightly shocking the large fox, though he hid it very well. Alright, brat, I'll look into it, but I can't promise anything, so don't get your hopes up too high. Just remember, I'm only doing this because I don't want to die. Reforming takes time, and honestly it really sucks. Kyuubi replied, making Naruto nod with a slight smile. I asked the fox to look into it. Being around pretty much since the birth of Shinobi, he has seen a lot, and is probably our best bet to actually find something out about whoever we encountered the other night. Naruto said, I may not like it, but you have a point. The Kyuubi is one of the only beings old enough to know what happened before the formation of the 5 great villages. While the Sonya clan kept detailed record of events that happened before Konoha was formed, most of the documents have been lost over the years, or are worn beyond recognition. Tsunade said, it would seem that at this moment, there is little left to be said about what happened during the mission. But I would like to make a request, Ba-chan. Naruto said, getting Tsunade's attention. Naruto hardly requested anything from her anymore, unless it was very important. I'm listening. I would like you to call together teams 8, 9, and 10, along with their senseis. I would also like you to call Sakura, Shizune, Ayame, Tuki, and Iruka to come as well. I think it's time that they learn the truth of who and what I really am. Naruto said, making Tsunade's eyes widen slightly. Are you sure, brat? I mean, you just came back and everything. They are still trying to get used to the new, well, you, I guess. Tsunade said, but earned a nod from Naruto. Groaning at the thought of how much paperwork this would create for her, Tsunade told Shizune to send for the people Naruto had asked for. 15 minutes later, Naruto stood in front of his friends, their senseis, and the 3 people he could call family. I've asked Ba-chan to call you all here today to discuss a few things. Naruto started, gaining everyone's attention. There are many things that you do not know about me, and being my friends and people I consider family, I believe you all have a right to know the truth. Iruka paled slightly after hearing Naruto say that. He wasn't going to tell them that was he. What do you mean, Naruto? Sakura asked. Naruto sighed, trying to find the right place to start his little speech. I guess it would be best for me to start from the beginning. 16 years ago, October the 10th, what day does that mark? Naruto asked. That's the day the Kyuubi attacked the village. Shikamaru stated, earning a nod from Naruto. Exactly. Now, even though the Yondaime was considered to be one of, if not the strongest, Hokage to lead Konoha, he couldn't kill the Kyuubi, no one can. Naruto started, confirming Iruka's thoughts from earlier. I really hope you know what you're doing, Naruto. I would hate for this to backfire on you, Iruka thought, as well as Ayame and Tuki, as they knew exactly what he was, not that it mattered to them. The 9 Biju is large masses of chakra able to take physical form. Their power is based on how many tails they have. The Ikibi Shukaku is the weakest of the tailed beasts, while the Kyubi is the strongest. That being said, the only way to defeat a Biju is to seal it away. You mean, like Gaara, right? Sakura asked. Yes, although Gaara's seal was iffy at best, hardly strong enough to hold the bloodthirsty desires of Shukaku, which is the reason why Gaara was the way he was during the Chunin exams. Naruto explained, earning nods from those around the room. There is a total of 9 Biju, which means there are 9 Jinchuriki, which is the term given to those that hold the Biju inside them. 9. How do you know that? Tenten asked, slightly intrigued by what she was hearing. During my days in ANBU I came across bingo book entries of a few of the Jinchuriki. Kumo houses the 2 tails and the 8 tails. Both Jinchuriki have complete control over their Biju, and can use its power freely, even being able to transform into the Biju themselves. Waterfall holds the 7 tails. We do not know much about their Jinchuriki, other than the fact that she is roughly around our age. Suna has the Ikibi Shukaku, who is sealed inside their case cage Gaara, but you all knew that. And, as some of you may have already guessed, Konoha houses the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails. Naruto said, causing a few eyes to widen in surprise. How come we never knew about this? Sakura asked, her question directed more towards Tsunade than Naruto. The Sandaime created a law on the night of the Kyuubi attack, forbidding people to talk about who the Jinchuriki was, but that didn't stop them from telling their children to stay away from him. Naruto said, causing Shikamaru and Neji's eyes to widen. It's you, isn't it, Naruto? Shikamaru asked. I figured you would be the first to figure it out, Shikamaru. It would seem that you and Neji figured it out as well as Shino. Naruto said, earning the attention of those that had not yet figured it out. That's what you meant in the Chunin exams, isn't it, Naruto, about knowing my burden? That would also explain the red chakra I saw when you reopened your chakra points. Neji said. Knowing the truth, Neji felt ashamed of how he had talked to Naruto that day, something that Naruto picked up on. Yes, it is, Neji. However, I do not want you to feel bad about anything that happened that day. You had no idea at the time, so I can't hold what you said against you. Besides, it all worked in the end and we have become friends since then. Naruto said, earning a thankful nod from Neji. Why didn't you tell us this before, Naruto? Sakura asked. Understand, Sakura, that when I was younger, people would trick me into believing they liked me. A lot of the time it would end with me being beaten in an alleyway before the ANBU intervened. I was afraid of telling all of you because I was scared that you wouldn't be able to look at me the same again. We were all young, and you wouldn't have been as understanding as you are now. Naruto explained. Sakura had to admit he had a point. Back then she didn't know how she would have reacted to the news. She was a fresh out of the academy genin, she probably would have been scared of him. That is why you had ANBU watching over you as a child, why the villagers didn't like you. How could they? They should have known the difference between the jailer and the jailed. Ino said, surprising everyone in the room. They never thought Ino would have reacted like that. Hey, you have to look at it from their standpoint, Ino-san. The Kyuubi was easily the scariest thing that any of them had ever seen. People lost sons, daughters, fathers, and mothers that day. While I'm not saying what they did to me was right, I can understand where they are coming from. It's human nature to fear the unknown, and at that time they were still unsure if I was actually me, or the Kyuubi. Naruto explained. That is a logical answer, Naruto, although I am sure there are those who would have not changed their opinion on you. Shino said, earning a nod from Naruto. I'm sure there wouldn't have, as we have similarities to the way people look at us for what we hold inside us. But I was young and naive then, and like I said earlier, scared as well. Naruto said, but why would the Yondaime choose you? I'm sure he could have chosen any number of people to take the burden. Lee asked, unusually calm after listening to what Naruto had to say. That, Lee, is a very good question. It also brings me to the other part of what I wanted to talk to you about. During my time in ANBU I found out who my parents were. Naruto said. Now that statement alone was enough to get everyone's attention again. Really? That's great, Naruto. Who were they? Sakura asked, happy that her old teammate had finally found a part of his childhood he was missing. Some of the Junin might know my mother. She was the only kunoichi said to be on par with Ba-chan over there. Naruto said, as he pointed at Tsunade. Her name was Kushina Uzumaki, and before me, she was the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. She was brought to Konoha from Uzushiogakure, village hidden by the whirling tides. When she was young, her chakra was very special, easily able to bind the Kyuubi, although she didn't have access to its chakra as I do. As far as I know, aside from myself, she was the last of our clan. I've never heard of the Uzumaki clan before. Why is that? Sakura asked. The Uzumaki clan was renowned worldwide for their skills in both Fuinjutsu and their fearsome Kenjutsu style, said to be one of the strongest in all the elemental nations. For that reason, Uzushiogakure was wiped out during the Second Great Shinobi War. The symbol on the back of the Chunin and Junin flak jackets is actually the symbol of my clan and homeland, as we are distant relatives of the Senju. Naruto said, in all honesty, I wouldn't be surprised if we were actually related, Ba-chan. I would like for you to run some blood tests when this is over if you wouldn't mind. I'd be happy to, Naruto. Tsunade said happily. The chance at her actually having a family member, even if it was small, was something she wouldn't pass up. Thank you, Naruto said with a smile, then continued, the fact that my mother and father were together was a very well kept secret, as my father had many enemies both in and out of the village, and only a handful of people actually knew they were together. 2 of those people are in this room right now, while the third is probably off somewhere peeking at women in the bathhouse. I remember when your father found out that Kushina was pregnant with you, he had ordered me to keep a watch over her to make sure she was okay at all times. He was really paranoid about it. Kakashi said offhandedly, making the others in the room look at him. You knew about this, Kakashi-sensei? Sakura asked, earning a nod from the scarecrow. Why didn't you ever say anything about it then? It was never my place to tell. Kakashi shrugged. That responsibility fell to Naruto's godfather and godmother. Who were they? Ino asked. Me, as well as Jiraiya, but personal reasons kept us both away from the village for a long period of time. Although if I had known Naruto was actually still alive, I would have come back a lot sooner. Tsunade said with a smile as she looked at Naruto. You had 2 out of 3 Sannin as your godparents. Kiba all but shouted, who the hell was your father? My father was from one of the lesser clans in Konoha, the Namikaze. Naruto said, making the older people in the room, aside from those that already knew, go wide-eyed with shock. Namikaze, as in Minato Namikaze, the Yondaime Hokage? Shizune asked, now shocking the rest of the genin as well. The one and only Shizune-chan. Naruto said with a smile, earning another small blush from the Hokage's assistant, one that didn't go unnoticed by both Kurenai and Yugao. I knew it, she finds him physically attractive, not that I blame her. If Naruto was to develop feelings for her, I know she would eventually return them. Yugao thought as she looked at Shizune. Looks like Yugao-chan was right, Shizune seems to be attracted to Naruto. Although once what he just told us becomes public knowledge, I'm sure a lot of women will be screaming his name. Kurenai thought as well, thinking back to the conversation she had with Yugao during their mission to Wave. Unknown to those in Konoha, similar talks were going on in Kumo. Kumo, inside the Raikage's office. Are you 100% sure this is true? A very large man asked as he looked at the man sitting across from him. Yes, Asama, there is no doubt in my mind that the Konoha ninja I saw was the son of Minato Namikaze, Yondaime Hokage of Konoha. The small man said, making the Raikage smirk. I see, this could be either good or bad, depending on how we play our cards. Do you know if any of our ninja had a chance to see him before or after the meeting? The Raikage asked. I know Yugito had talked to him before. She left early in the afternoon and didn't come until later in the evening. She told us it would be unwise to anger the Konoha nin, although she didn't say why exactly. But when I saw him the next day it made sense. The boy radiates a powerful aura that demands respect. The man said, "Thank you for delivering this bit of news to me. On your way out, could you tell my secretary to call for Yugito and be for me?" The Raikage asked, earning a nod from the man before he bowed slightly and left. Back in Konoha. It makes sense really. Shikamaru started. Naruto is pretty much a spitting image of Yondaime. I'm surprised we didn't realize it earlier. But I'm going to assume that the reason you didn't know about it was for the same reason he kept his relationship a secret, right? As usual, you're right, Shikamaru. Sandaime thought it would be been best for me to learn about it after I had become Chunin. I would have had the skills to at least defend myself by that point. But because I went into ANBU before I could get into a second Chunin exams, I was told after about a year by Ba-chan. Naruto explained. I believe that is also the reason he chose to seal the Kyuubi inside of me. I know if I were to be in that position it would be very hard for me to ask someone else to sacrifice their child. Do you hate your father for what he did to you? Sakura asked, making Naruto shake his head. I might have a little when I first found out, but if it wasn't for him sealing the Kyuubi inside of me I wouldn't be where I am today, or the person that I am. Granted, I might have had an easier time in school, more friends, and wouldn't have to deal with the bloodthirsty fox, but I don't think I would have matured as fast as I had to, or learned to deal with hardships from an early age like I did. Naruto replied, I wanted to tell you guys this before announcing it to the village as a whole. As the people that are closest to me, I thought you would deserve to hear it directly from me, in person. When do you plan on announcing it to the village, Naruto-kun? Yugao asked. I don't know for sure. I know that Ba-chan and I will have to have a meeting with the council first, and choose what name I want to take, so probably a day or two after the next council meeting. Naruto replied, then turned to Tsunade. I think I want to keep my mother's name Ba-chan. Are you sure, Naruto? We discussed taking both names. I'm sure it would be fine with the council. Tsunade replied. I'm sure this is what I want, Ba-chan. The Uzumaki were well known and feared throughout the elemental nations, while the Namikaze were just a small clan that didn't have much. Having the Uzumaki clan reborn in Konoha would add a great military asset to our village. The Uzumaki Kenjutsu style would be even more dangerous given my Namikaze heritage, which has made me faster and able to react quicker to incoming attacks. The Namikaze and Uzumaki were also well versed in their own Fuinjutsu, and I've been able to learn a little from both styles, and I'm currently trying to combine the two into one style. Also, from what I've heard, I act a lot more like my mother than my father. Naruto explained, earning a nod from the busty Hokage. I see, you do remind me a lot of Kushina-chan brat. Tsunade said with a smile, making Naruto smile in turn. If that is what you want, Naruto, then I have no intention of arguing with you. We can discuss it when we go to see the council about announcing your heritage. Thank you, Ba-chan, Naruto said with a smile, then, getting a sudden though, turned back to his friends. Another thing you need to know about is the Akatsuki, a criminal organization of S-ranked criminals. I've had a couple run-ins with them already, as have Kurenai, Asuma, Guy, and Kakashi-sensei. Naruto said. Why do we need to know about them? Kiba asked. Aside from the fact they are a group of S-ranked missing nins, as I just said, they are after the 9 Jinchuriki, that obviously means that Gaara and I are targets, and a Junin from Kumo. Itachi Uchiha is part of their group, as well as his partner Kisame, who you four had the pleasure of fighting. Naruto said, as he pointed to the 4 older Junin in the room. Even the 4 of you combined couldn't take them out. The only reason I wasn't taken that day is because Jiraiya made in it time between Sasuke foolishly challenged his older brother and paid the price for me. Do we know anything about any other members? Kurenai asked, remembering how easily Itachi had defeated her. As of right now, we don't have a lot of information about them, only that they work in groups of 2 at all times. Orochimaru used to be a part of their group as well, so we can only assume a group that holds company like that will be powerful. Naruto said. In truth, they had information on most of their members thanks to a little weasel that Naruto learned about after a couple years in ANBU. However, that was classified information, and he did not feel like making up an excuse as to how they knew so much. However, the point I'm trying to get across is that at all of your current levels, a run-in with an Akatsuki member like Itachi or Kisame would most likely lead to your death in a one-on-one confrontation. The only people in Konoha right now who might be able to deal with someone like Itachi or Kisame would be myself, Ero Sennin, and Ba-chan. Asuma, Yugao-chan, Kakashi-sensei, and Guy might be able to fight them to a draw, and while I hate to say this, Kurenai, with your limited ability in both taijutsu and ninjutsu, going up against them by yourself would be suicidal. I hate to admit it, Naruto, but you're right. My specialty is genjutsu, and going up against Itachi, and the person nicknamed the Tailless Biju, with only genjutsu wouldn't end well for me. Kurenai said dejectedly. Yes, however, Naruto started, earning her attention, since you need the most help, I will make you an offer. I'm listening. Kurenai replied. I will offer to train you in both taijutsu and ninjutsu, and I can offer you a wide variety of weapons training as well, from ninjutsu to bow staffs. Naruto said, making Kurenai's eyes widen. I don't know, Naruto, Kurenai said. She wasn't sure how having someone younger than her giving her lessons would affect her reputation within Konoha. If you are worried about the difference in age, I'll have you know that I've taught Yugao-chan a few things, as well as Kakashi. But if it would make you feel better, I'm sure that whenever I'm not helping Yugao train, she would be willing to help you. She is living with me after all, and I have given her full access to my family's jutsu library. Wait, why make Kurenai-sensei this offer, but not any of us? Kiba asked. I made Kurenai this offer because, as we said earlier, with her limited skills in taijutsu and ninjutsu, she wouldn't be able to do much of anything if she was to run into Akatsuki. At the same time, most of you have clans to learn from, while Sakura and Ino are both learning from Tsunade. So I made her the offer because you all have available sources to learn from, while Kurenai is not so lucky. Naruto replied. Wait, you said you were proficient in a variety of weapons, right, Naruto? Tenten asked, receiving a nod as her reply. Would you want to spar sometime? I would like to see how my mastery of weapons matches up to yours. That would be fine with me. You will have to catch me at a time when I'm not busy though. If anyone else wants to spar sometime, the same rules apply, although I will not be able to help you all with training. Naruto said, earning nods from around the room. That's all I wanted to talk about today, Ba-chan, so if you don't mind, me and Yugao-chan will be leaving to go get some training in. Naruto started, then turned back to Kurenai. Think about my offer, please, Kurenai. Having a good reputation means nothing if you're dead. Tsuki, Ayame Nisan, Iruka, you are all welcome at my compound whenever you want, or if you are ever in need of anything, do not hesitate to ask. We should get lunch before training, Naruto-kun. Yugao said, earning a nod from Naruto as they disappeared via Shunshin. I can't believe it, Tsuki started, earning everyone's attention. What, Tsuki-san? Kakashi asked. The son of the Yondaime was my #1 customer. Think of the business I will get once word of his heritage gets out. Tsuki replied happily, causing his daughter to sweat drop. Back in Kumo, Yugito fidgeted slightly as she stood across from both A and B, slowly digesting the information she had just learned about a certain blonde she met during her mission to Wave. So, you're telling me that Konoha's Reaper is not only a Jinchuriki like B and I, but is also the last of 2 clans, those being the Namikaze and Uzumaki? Yugito asked, earning a nod from A. It's a good thing I didn't get into a fight with him then. She said nervously, trying to lighten the mood a little. You are also lucky that while we are on shaky terms with Konoha, we are not outright allies. From what you told me of him, he could have killed you, regardless of if you had used the Nibi's chakra or not. Said, I believe he would know our ambassador would recognize him, which is probably why he told you of his status. He wanted to let you know in advance that fighting him would be a battle that you would not be able to win. That may be true, but he also gave me a lot of information about this group, the Akatsuki, and even went as far as giving me a reverse summoning tag in the chance I ran into them. If I may, Asama, I would suggest trying to make an ally out of Konoha. Naruto is powerful now, but I can tell that he still has a lot of room to grow. Along with that, they still have 2 out of the 3 Sannin in and around the village. And I don't need to remind you about their growing list of a ranked Junin in the bingo books from across the elemental nations. Yugito said nervously, watching Iza seem to think about her proposal. I will think about it, Yugito. Both you and B are important to me, along with others in our village. The threat of the Akatsuki is not one to be taken lightly. And while I hate to admit it, Konoha does have higher caliber Junin than we do, and while we have both you and B, you said earlier that the last Namikaze would be able to defeat you should a fight between the 2 of you occur, and between him, Jiraiya, Tsunade and Kakashi, they would probably be able to take out B eventually as well. I replied, earning a nod from Yugito. I can't help but feel that there is something more at work here though, so for now unless specifically asked by me, I don't want either of you going too far from the village. Of course Asama, be careful of any missions you accept for us though, the council has never really liked B and I. Yugito said before being dismissed. I can't rap and found it really hard to make a rhyming sentence that made sense, so B will probably not rap his sentences out in this story. Our little kitty seems to think highly of the young Namikaze bro. Killer B said, earning a nod from the wreckage. Yes she does, perhaps we could use that to our advantage if peace talks come up. I replied, your brat sure has made a name for himself Minato, it's only a matter of time before he surpasses you. Later that night, in Konoha. After a quick lunch at the dango shop, Naruto and Yugao had spent most of the afternoon training. Both had spent a little bit of time going through the Namikaze and Uzumaki clan libraries before picking out a few scrolls each to practice with. Yugao had chosen a Kenjutsu scroll to study, along with a few Suiten jutsus. Naruto had taken some of his father's notes pertaining to the Hiraishin and had spent most of the afternoon looking over them. After their training was finished, Yugao had told him she wanted to hang out with her friends, and left Naruto to his own devices. Having nothing better to do, Naruto decided to walk around Konoha, being able to enjoy Konoha's nightlife for the first time since he had joined ANBU. Over the past few days he had a lot of time to think over the conversation he and Inari had had during his stay in Wave. He wasn't confused about how he felt, he knew that he liked Yugao, but there were a few things that stopped him from acting on his feelings. The first was Hayate. He knew that Yugao, while not as much as she was before, was still in pain over her ex-fiancé's death during the Chunin exams. The second was the fact that he was a clan head, and would probably be asked to be placed in the CRA. While not wanting to be forced to take more than one wife, his desire to keep his mother's clan living outweighed those thoughts, and he didn't think Yugao would want to be a part of something like that. Thinking about the CRA brought him to another train of thoughts, not wanting to be forced into a loveless marriage, which he thought was most likely to happen. What's bothering you, Naruto? He heard, and turned to see Kakashi walking out of one of the stalls he had just passed. Hey Kakashi-sensei, I'm troubled by certain things regarding being a clan head. Naruto replied as Kakashi fell into step beside him. You mean the CRA, and I'm going to go out on a limb and also guess what that means regarding a certain purple-haired ex-ANBU of mine, right? Kakashi said, making Naruto nod. You know too much for your own good, Kakashi-sensei. He replied, earning a shoulder shrug from his old sensei. I saw the same look on your father's face when the council had asked him to join the CRA. Luckily for him though, Kushina had shot the idea down before they could convince him to go along with it. Your mother could be quite convincing, if she wanted to be. Kakashi said, as for the issue regarding Yugao, I've caught you looking at her the same way you used to look at Sakura. I may not have been a good sensei when you were younger, but I got to know you a lot better during your time in ANBU. My father was asked to be part of the CRA as well. I thought the Namikaze was just a small-time clan. Naruto asked. They were. However, Minato was a special case. Your father was an extremely powerful man, Naruto, both well respected and feared. While you take a lot from your mother, you also have a lot of qualities that your father had. If we were to have more shinobi like you in the village, Kakashi said, then the Namikaze clan would have become a very powerful clan for Konoha to have. I see. Naruto finished. But you also said that I have a lot of traits from my mother, who was also very powerful in her own right. My father would have had to marry powerful kunoichi for something like that to work, not some merchant's daughter. Yes, he would have, but for your father that wouldn't have been an issue. He was a very popular man among many people, kunoichi included. Kakashi said, you seem to be following quite closely in his footsteps, I might add. What do you mean? Naruto asked. From what I've seen, you seem to be quite popular as well with both the civilian and shinobi population. People seem to be quite jealous that you and Yugao seem to be quite close to each other. Kakashi said, I've also noticed that you are getting a lot of female attention even as we speak. Naruto took a look around. Kakashi had been right. He saw quite a bit of the female population looking at him with want in their eyes. I see what you mean, however I do not want a relationship built on what clans I come from, or who my father was. I also don't want to be wed to some spoiled merchant's daughter. Naruto replied, if I decide to accept the CRA, I will have a couple years to find suitable wives before the council starts to just push people on me. Hopefully I can figure something out in that time. I'm sure that you will, Naruto. I would recommend starting with people that you already know. I know of a few people who already seem to have taken an interest in you. Kakashi said, getting Naruto's attention. However, I am not going to reveal who those people are, because that would ruin the fun. I should have known that you wouldn't, Kakashi-sensei. I know at least one person who seems to have feelings for me, but I have to admit her feelings are based on fake grounds. I am not, and never was the person she thought me to be. Naruto said, earning a nod from Kakashi. Hinata, you mean? She is powerful in her own right, even if she doesn't know it. She is also very beautiful, but I have to agree that her feelings are based on the old you, at least the one you wanted everyone to believe was you. Kakashi replied, I would recommend talking to her about it soon. If you leave it for much longer, it will be harder for her to understand. I know, I wanted to talk to her about it on the mission we went on, but things came up and I never got the chance. I care for Hinata, just not in the same way she cares for me. I need to think of a way to tell her where I won't hurt her too much. Naruto said, I can't help you there, Naruto. In a way she is as bad as Sakura was with Sasuke, she just doesn't outwardly show it. She is too shy, lacking in self-confidence from how her family treats her to be able to express how she feels. However, I think I should confront her before she gains the courage to tell me. It would be an even bigger hit to her confidence if after finally getting the courage to tell someone her feelings they don't share them. Naruto replied, well, you have time to think about it. Kurenai and her old team left on a mission a couple hours ago and probably won't be back for a few days. Kakashi said, I see, thanks Kakashi-sensei. Maybe I'll ask Yugao about it. Naruto replied, earning a nod from Kakashi before deciding to go back home. Next morning, somewhere in the land of grass, Itachi woke slowly. Having spent the night outside instead of in a cave, his eyes needed time to adjust. Looking around, his eyes narrowed slightly. Kisame had been with him the night before, but now he was nowhere to be found, and Kisame had never walked off without telling Itachi about where he was going. I see you're awake now, Itachi-san. That's good because we have a lot to discuss. A voice said. Turning, Itachi came face to face with deep purple eyes. Then talk. I am in the middle of hunting for the 9 tails. Itachi said emotionlessly. You would do well to remember your place while talking to a god, Itachi-san. I've come to let you know that you are no longer a part of the Akatsuki. I've received information recently that has made me question your loyalty towards me. Rather than take a chance, I've decided to deal with you myself. Pain said as he got into a fighting stance. I'm not strong enough to fight Pain and come out the victor. I need to create an opportunity to get away. How could he have known I was working for Konoha though? I didn't think Toby would tell him. Itachi thought as he made distance between himself and the Rinnegan user, activating his Sharingan. The Sharingan is useless against these eyes, Itachi. You cannot hope to defeat me. Pain said. We will see. Itachi replied before going through a set of hand signs. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu. Itachi said as he spit 6 fireballs towards the leader of the Akatsuki, who merely scoffed as he waited for them to get close. Shinra Tensei. He said calmly as a gravitational force was pushed from his body, dissipating the fireballs Itachi had sent at him. He then charged at Itachi to engage in taijutsu, sending a flurry of kicks and punches towards the Uchiha who, thanks to his Sharingan, was able to evade most of the attacks. Ducking a kick that was sent for his head, Itachi tried to counter with a jab to the body as he saw an opening in Pain's defense. Much to Itachi's shock, however, Pain spun quickly, using his left hand to swat Itachi's punch away, while using his right to punch Itachi in the face, sending him skidding backwards. How did you see that attack? Itachi asked. He then tensed as he saw the 5 other paths of Pain land in the clearing. Things just went from bad to worse for the Uchiha. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Itachi said as he made 2 clones of himself, before they went through a set of hand signs. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. The clones said as they shot 2 large fireballs towards Pain, forcing the Preta path absorb one while Diva used Shinra Tensei to deflect the other. The 2 clones then ran in behind the fireball, hoping to take out the Preta path as he finished absorbing the fireball, but were stopped by the Asura path. Bunshin Babakua, Itachi said, causing the 2 clones to explode, creating a large layer of smoke around the clearing. Using this as an opportunity to escape, Itachi quickly made 2 more shadow clones before having them split off in different directions. It would seem he got away. Leader Sama. A large blue man with shark-like features said as he came out of the forest after the smoke had cleared. It doesn't matter. He will die whether it's by my hand or someone else's. Pain replied, before a beautiful woman with blue hair landed beside him. What do you want us to do about him, Pain? The woman asked. Conan, I want you to take Kisame and track him down. I don't care how you do it, just make sure you kill him. He will regret the day he tested the powers of a god. Pain said, earning a nod from Conan, who then spared a glance at the large shark-like man before taking off in the direction she felt Itachi go. Kisame, do not fail me, and make sure you get his ring. Pain said before using a shunshin to leave, leaving Kisame alone in the clearing. So Itachi was a spy this whole time, huh? This could make things interesting if he gets away. Kisame said to himself, and then left in the same direction Conan had gone a few moments before. Konoha. Few hours later. Tsunade was sitting behind her desk doing paperwork, when a sudden tapping sound was heard from her window. Turning around, she was shocked to see a large crow sitting on the other side of the window, scroll held in its beak. Tsunade opened the window before taking the scroll from the crow, which then disappeared in a puff of smoke. That's strange. The only person I remember having a summoning contract with the crows was Tsunade thought, before eyes going wide and quickly opening the scroll. Shit. Tsunade said, before yelling for Shizune. What is it, Tsunade-sama? Shizune said as she entered the office. Get me Naruto, Yugao, Kakashi and Guy quickly. Tell Kakashi this is an S-ranked mission and not to be late. She said, earning a quick nod from Shizune who sent for the people Tsunade had called for. 5 minutes later, the 4 ninja Tsunade had called for were standing at attention in front of her desk. What did you call us here for, Tsunade-sama? Naruto asked seriously. I've just received an urgent message. ANBU code name Weasel has been compromised and has requested immediate help at ANBU Safe House D, located on the border of the Land of Fire and the Land of Grass. Tsunade said, making Naruto's and Kakashi's eyes widen. Who is Weasel Naruto-kun? Yugao asked, hearing the blonde sigh. Weasel is Itachi Uchiha. But Itachi is a criminal. He slaughtered his clan. How could he still be working for Konoha? Yugao said, causing Naruto to sigh. Yugao-chan, there are certain things pertaining to the Uchiha massacre that are almost as big a secret as my heritage. Naruto said. He then glanced at Tsunade, who in turn nodded, knowing what Naruto wanted. I'm going to ask both you and Guy-san to not interrupt me as I explain everything that happened prior to that night. Can I get a guarantee from both of you for that? Of course, Naruto-kun, Yugao said, as Guy nodded his head. Thank you. It pretty much started during the time of the second Hokage when Tobirama-sama created the Uchiha police force, and forced their clan to the outskirts of the village. Having believed they were the most powerful clan in Konoha, they took it as an insult that they were forced to the outskirts of Konoha. From that point onward, the Uchiha felt segregated from the rest of Konoha. They received constant suspicion and discrimination that eventually led to their hated of the village. They planned to use Itachi as a spy for the Uchiha clan, but Itachi was smarter than they though. He knew that an uprising of the Uchiha would most likely lead to another shinobi war, so he became a double agent, telling Konoha of the Uchiha's planned coup d'état. Naruto started, surprising both Guy and Yugao, before Kakashi continued. Itachi was convinced by Danzo that killing his entire clan was the only viable option for stopping the rebellion, and Itachi agreed to it under the terms that Sandaime-sama would watch over and care for Sasuke. After the massacre, Itachi infiltrated the Akatsuki, and has been providing Konoha with information on them ever since. Kakashi said, making Tsunade nod, confirming his explanation. Did Itachi manage to say who discovered him? Or who is currently following him? Naruto asked, earning a nod from Tsunade. Yes, in his scroll he said that he was confronted by Pain, the supposed leader of Akatsuki, and engaged in combat till a time when he felt he could escape. He is currently being followed by Kisame and a woman named Konan. Tsunade said, causing Naruto's eyes to widen. That isn't good. Both Konan and Kisame are extremely dangerous opponents. You all know Kisame is an ex-Kiri no Shinobigatana, 7 swordsman of the mist, and is nicknamed the Tailless Biju for his massive chakra reserves, but Konan is someone we don't have a lot of info on. Itachi stated that she primarily uses long-range paper ninjutsu, something she was able to create after fusing her chakra into origami creations. She is known as the Angel of Aim, and supposedly is very intelligent when it comes to combat. Naruto said, she is also close to their leader Pain, and is usually always by his side. Can you tell us anything about Pain, Naruto-kun? Guy asked. I will tell you this once. If for whatever reason Pain is with Konan and Kisame, we will be forced to either flee, or fight to the death. Pain is the only known person who wields the Rinnegan, the legendary dojutsu of the Sage of the Six Paths. Even fighting together, our odds of winning against him are slim without knowing the full capabilities of his eyes. Naruto stated, shocking those present. The Rinnegan, I thought that was just a myth. Kakashi said. It was believed to be a myth because no one had been born with the Rinnegan since the Sage. However, Itachi says he had seen it with his own eyes, and that's not something Itachi would lie about. Naruto said, I'm going to assume you called us here so we could meet with Itachi at the extraction point, right? Yes, however I also called you because most of you have experience fighting with Akatsuki, or ninja close to that caliber. Guy has fought with Kisame before, and with Yugao being a Kenjutsu expert, having them fight against Kisame would work well, I think. You are both close-range specialists, and according to our reports Kisame relies mainly on Kenjutsu, but don't let your guard down. That leaves Kakashi and Naruto to take on Konan. Both of you are skilled in both long-range and short-range fighting, giving you an advantage in whatever way the fight turns out. Tsunade said, earning nods from the group. Naruto, since you have the most experience with Akatsuki, I want you to lead this mission. Should things go south during the mission, your main priority will be to get Itachi back to Konoha safely, we will deal with everything else then, alright? Hi. Should things go bad, I'll send a toad in advance to let you know what is going on. Hopefully we will be able to get Itachi out without having to fight. If we are forced to fight, hopefully we will be able to make them retreat. With Itachi helping us, that shouldn't be too much of an issue. That being said, I'm going to get Itachi to help Yugao and Guy fight Kisame. Having been partnered with him, Itachi would know of his fighting style, as well as any weaknesses he has. Naruto said, whatever you think is best, Naruto-kun. You should all get moving though. It will be a few days' trip to get to the border of Fire Country where Itachi is going. Tsunade said, with Itachi. Itachi flinched as he felt the first of his clones pop out of existence. Konan had been less than friendly about taking care of him, and judging by the look on her face the clone saw before dispersing, she was anything but pleased. While dealing with Konan herself probably wouldn't have been an issue for the older Uchiha, he knew Kisame was with her as well, tilting the scales in their favor should a confrontation happen. He just hoped his message had reached Konoha, and that Tsunade would send him suitable backup. The clone had managed to lead Konan and Kisame a fair amount of distance away from the real him, but if they were to catch on his actual trail, he would only have a few days before they caught up with him. Giving a sigh, he stood up, stretching his body after the short break he had taken, before continuing on his way towards the border of the Land of Fire. He had had a feeling that Toby knew about him still being loyal to Konoha and working undercover in the Akatsuki. The masked man may have acted like an incompetent fool, but Itachi knew he was not someone to be provoked. If Toby knew I was a double agent, he would have known for a long time. Why would he wait till now to bring that fact to light? Something must have happened to force his hand. Itachi thought. Something big was happening, and he hoped he would be able to find the answers back in Konoha. Few days later, Naruto and his team were on guard as they approached the ANBU safe house from the cover of the forest. Stopping at the edge of the clearing, Naruto turned his head to Yugao before flashing through a few ANBU hand signs, sending her a silent message. Nodding towards her blonde teammate, Yugao closed her eyes and sent out a few waves of her chakra, looking for any signs of Itachi, or the two that had been following him. I only sense one presence, Naruto-kun. It's already inside the safe house, so I'm going to assume it's Itachi. Yugao said, earning a nod from Naruto. Alright, I agree that it's most likely Itachi, but don't let your guard down. Yugao-chan, keep your senses alert even after we go inside. Let me know immediately if you sense anyone outside. I'll go in first. Yugao-chan will be behind me, followed by Guy with Kakashi-sensei bringing up the rear. This safe house is still in operation, so be wary of traps. Naruto said, earning a collective nod before they left the cover of the treeline and made their way towards the entrance. Naruto's hand went towards the entrance but stopped as he felt a presence from right behind the door. Tensing and preparing for the worst, Naruto retracted his hand and watched as the door opened to reveal Itachi. Hello again, Naruto-kun. I'm kind of surprised Tsunade-sama would send you here. I told her 2 high-level Akatsuki members were after me. Itachi said emotionlessly as he stepped out of the bunker, no longer wearing his Akatsuki robes. I see you took some of the supplies that were left here. Naruto said as he gazed at Itachi, who was dressed in a standard ANBU uniform minus the mask. As for why I was sent here, I'm not the same person I was the last time you saw me, Weasel. I see. If you know that name, then you must have been in ANBU, fairly high ranking as well. Itachi said. If he was surprised, he didn't really show it. Maybe I was, maybe I wasn't. You will have to wait until we return to Konoha to get information like that. Naruto said. It would appear so. I'd recommend leaving as soon as possible. After escaping from pain, I created a couple shadow clones in hopes that they would lead Konan and Kisame away. One was dispelled a couple days ago, the other one ran out of chakra and dispelled on its own, leading me to believe that Konan and Kisame have found my actual trail. Itachi said, earning a nod from Naruto before a voice stopped them all. It took me a while to find you, Itachi-san. It would appear that Konoha was able to send help. That won't make a difference, you will die here today. A woman said as she landed in the clearing. Large wings made of paper formed out of her back. Conan-san, if you are here then I'd guess Kisame isn't too far behind. Itachi said, as if on cue a large blue man stepped out into the clearing. It's a shame you had to betray the Akatsuki Itachi-san, I really enjoyed being your partner. Kisame said with a toothy grin, showing off his shark-like fangs. It would seem Konoha sent some high-level shinobi to assist you, including the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The brat sure has grown since the last time I saw him. Itachi, I want you to help Yugao and Guy fight Kisame. The three of you together should be able to either kill him or seriously wound him. Kakashi and I will deal with Conan. Naruto said, earning a nod before the group split off to fight their respective opponents. With Naruto and Kakashi raced through the trees, hoping to lead Conan away from the others so they could focus on their fight with Kisame without having to worry about Conan interfering. Landing in a clearing a short distance away, Naruto and Kakashi stood back to back, waiting for Conan to make her move. They didn't have to wait long as a hail of paper kunai rained in from above, forcing them to use kawarimi to dodge. Looking up they saw Conan hovering slightly above the treeline, face set into a deep frown. I didn't expect Konoha to send their Jinchuriki, along with Sharingan no Kakashi, this could complicate things. I'll have to take care of you both quickly and help Kisame with Itachi. Conan said as she floated down to the ground and got into an offensive stance. Don't think that you will be able to defeat us so easily, Conan-san. Naruto replied as he unsealed his ninjutsu while Kakashi pulled up his forehead protector, revealing his Sharingan eye. They stood across from each other unmoving, almost as if they were sizing each other up. On an unspoken marker Conan flew towards Naruto, who smirked as he pumped some Kaden chakra through the blade, giving it a light red glow. Naruto slid under the paper kunai Conan had slashed at him with as thrust his sword up into her paper wing, detaching it from the rest of her body as she fell towards the ground, tumbling a few times before coming to a stop against a tree. Picking herself up off the ground, Conan spit a bit of blood out of her mouth before releasing her still intact wing. Glaring at Naruto, she made a few kami bunchins, paper clones, and sent two of them towards Kakashi, while she engaged Naruto again with the other following close behind. With Itachi and the others, Yugao, Guy and Itachi stood in a triangle pattern surrounding Kisame, who in turn just stood there with a smirk on his face. Samahata is hungry, Itachi-san. I've spent years studying the way you fight, figuring out way to beat you. Today is when I will see how far I've come. Kisame said as he pulled the large sword off his back, before the bandages fell to the side, revealing the large scaly sword. She has wanted to taste your chakra for a very long time now. I don't think I need to tell either of you to be careful from here on out. Kisame is one of Akatsuki's strongest members. Be wary of his sword Samahata as well, it's a sentient sword that eats chakra, growing in size as it does so. This fight would be best fought close quarters, but don't let his sword get too close or it will expand and he will be able to shave the skin off your bones with it. Itachi said as his onyx eyes turned Sharingan red. Yugao and Guy nodded before assuming their respected offensive stances. Guy was the first to move, rushing at Kisame from behind hoping to catch the large man off guard with a quick series of jabs and kicks. Kisame was ready however and used Samahata to block Guy's attacks before swinging the large sword in a horizontal arc, attempting to shatter a few ribs. Guy was ready for this however, and dropped low to the ground as the large sword missed overhead, before using both hands to propel himself into an up kick that Kisame barely managed to dodge, moving his head back at the last second. Kisame then grabbed onto one of Guy's legs before throwing him over his shoulder, slamming him into the ground. Guy rolled out of the way as Kisame brought his foot down, creating a small indent where his head had just been, before distancing himself from the large shark-like man, attempting to regain the breath he had lost being slammed. I won't be forced to retreat like the last time we fought. Kisame said as he looked at Guy, causing the green-clad Junin to raise an eyebrow at the declaration. We've fought before, Guy asked, causing Kisame, and to a lesser extent Itachi, to sweat drop. All bronze no brains it would seem. Kisame said to himself before being forced to duck under a slash Yugao had sent at the back of his head. It's not very nice to sneak up on people like that when they are talking. Kisame said as he attempted to sweep Yugao's legs out from under her before engaging her in kenjutsu, pushing the smaller woman back with his powerful strikes. Ducking and weaving between Kisame's strikes, Yugao waited patiently for an opening to use her speed for a counter-attack. The moment came when Kisame made a rookie mistake by overextending his reach with a stab, enabling Yugao to duck around the large man, leaving a large horizontal cut across his gut. The gain in momentum was only temporary, however, as Yugao found Kisame's foot planted in her gut as he landed a heavy back kick and sent her skidding across the ground. Kisame smirked as he turned towards Itachi. The beast with no brain is still trying to catch his breath, while the pretty little kenjutsu user probably won't be getting up for a little while. Looks like it's just you and me now, partner. Kisame said with a toothy grin as he rested Samahata on his shoulder. Indeed. Itachi replied emotionlessly as he unsheathed the ninjutsu strapped across his back. It had been a while since he used this particular weapon, but he hoped it would be enough. That puny blade won't work against Samahata for long, and I know to avoid looking at your Sharingan, Itachi-san, you may be able to catch others off guard, but it won't be as easy with me. Kisame said as he charged at Itachi. You don't have to look into my eyes for them to be effective. I can still sense where your movements are coming from. Itachi said as he sidestepped a large downward slash, before slashing Kisame across the arm. Using his speed, Itachi disappeared from Kisame's vision, reappearing behind him and leaving a large diagonal slash along his back before quickly disappearing again. Growling, Kisame did a complete 360 with Samahata, hoping to catch Itachi as he reappeared. Much to his surprise though, Itachi reappeared momentarily on top of Samahata, before Kisame felt a sharp pain in his gut. Looking behind him, he saw a smirking Yugao, ninjutsu blade deep in the small of his back, causing his eyes to widen slightly before coughing up blood. You made a rookie mistake, Kisame, believing an enemy was incapacitated without solid proof, and now you're going to pay for it. Itachi said, bringing Kisame's attention back to the older Uchiha, who was still standing atop Samahata, tip of his ninjutsu poised to strike at Kisame's jugular. Hey! Kisame breathed out heavily. It would seem that even after all these years, you're still stronger than me, Itachi-san. In a one-on-one fight it might have ended differently, but you were at a disadvantage from the start, fighting against a ranked shinobi as well as myself. You should not have come here, Kisame. Itachi said, but his eyes narrowed when he saw Kisame smirk. Whoever said the fight was finished? Kisame said before dropping Samahata, throwing Itachi off balance, and quickly spun to knock Yugao away again. It was fun, Itachi-san, but you should know it won't be that easy to defeat me. Kisame said before gathering a large amount of chakra. Sweden. Bakusui Shoha. Kisame shouted as he spit out a large amount of water before going through another set of hand signs. Sweden. Daibakufu no Jutsu. Kisame shouted as a large torrent of water shot towards Yugao and Itachi, who quickly picked Guy up and got out of the way. It would seem this fight is over, Yugao-san. We should wait for Naruto-kun and Kakashi-san to return. Itachi said as he looked out over the clearing, not seeing any traces of Kisame. I agree with Itachi-san, the two of us are in no condition to fight Yugao-san. Guy said from his seated position, I trust in both Kakashi and Naruto-kun, they will be fine. With Naruto, it would seem that Kisame was forced to flee Konan-san. I would recommend doing the same. Naruto said as he destroyed another one of Kanan's kami bunchins with his ninjutsu. Kisame was fighting against not only Itachi, but two other high-ranked Konoha shinobi as well. I've got both you and Kakashi-san separated and that gives me the advantage. Konan replied as she sent a few exploding kunai towards Naruto. While I will admit the information we had on you was off, you have not shown me anything that leads me to believe you will defeat me. Naruto smirked as he used Kawarimi to get out of way of the exploding kunai before going through his next set of hand signs. Kirigakur no Jutsu, he said, creating a thick layer of mist that covered the clearing. It's a shame that you have fallen so far since being Jiraiya's student Konan-san. Naruto said through the mist, causing Konan's eyes to widen. I don't think this is the path he wanted you three to go down. I know that pain is just Nagato's puppet, but what happened to Yahiko? Jiraiya said there were 3 of you, but from Itachi's information there are only 2 of you left. I don't know what you're talking about. Konan said, causing Naruto to scoff. Don't play dumb with me, Konan. I know exactly who you are. Orphans from the Second Shinobi War. Jiraiya found you 3 and instead of killing you like his teammate Orochimaru suggested decided to train you 3. He had hoped that with Nagato's Rinnegan he would be the child of prophecy that the Elder Toad had told him about, but it looks like Nagato has succumbed to darkness and is now going down the path of self-destruction. Naruto said, earning a snarl from Konan. How dare you speak of Nagato like that? You have no idea what we went through as children. Yahiko's dream was to create a world of peace, but when he died Nagato took over his dream and is working on fulfilling it. Konan replied through the mist. By gathering all the Biju to create a weapon of mass destruction, I may have been an idiot before Konan, but even I know that creating a weapon like that will do anything but bring peace to this world. Naruto replied as he appeared behind Konan, slicing the back of her knee causing her to drop to one knee. I also know how the 2 of you came into power in AIM, destroying a major part of the village in your fight with Hanzo, killing lots of innocent families. Since then Nagato has ruled AIM like a tyrant. He may have freed the people from Hanzo, but they still live in fear of him. You have no idea what you're talking about. Konan shouted as she tried to stand, only to be struck down again. Naruto buried his fist in her stomach. I know more than you think, Konan-san. I'm not going to kill you, but when you return to AIM take a walk around the village, not as the angel, as they so appropriately call you, but use a henjin go as a regular civilian, interact with the people and see what they think of your glorious leader's rule. Naruto said, and Konan couldn't help but blush lightly at Naruto's choice of words about her nickname. While you're doing that, think about what kind of weapon Nagato is currently trying to build. It's a weapon of mass destruction, not a weapon of peace. What good would a world without wars be if there is no one alive to enjoy it? You know nothing of peace. Konan spat. You're absolutely right. I don't know what peace is, nor do I know how to achieve it. Naruto started, but I have people who believe that I will be able to achieve it, and I can't let my friends down. One last word of advice, Konan-san, be wary of the man with the spiral mask. He is not who he seems to be. There are larger powers at work in this world, and as of right now, Akatsuki is the least of my worries. That was the last thing Konan heard and her world went black as Naruto delivered a quick chop to the back of her neck before ending his hidden mist jutsu. Letting out a sigh, Naruto expanded his senses, locating Kakashi and the rest of the group back in the clearing they found Itachi in. Naruto used a shunshin to get to the clearing quickly, before doing a quick once-over of his team. Kakashi seemed a little tired and had a few cuts and bruises around his body. Yugao was breathing a little heavy and holding her side, while both Guy and Itachi seemed to be somewhat okay. How did it go, Naruto? Kakashi asked. It went fine. We fought a bit. I talked to her about a few things, then I left her unconscious with a message to deliver to Pain, and hopefully a lot on her mind to think about. Naruto replied, we should get back to Konoha though, we can discuss everything else there. -3 days later, Konoha. After sneaking Itachi in relatively easily, Naruto and his team could be found standing in front of Tsunade, reporting how their mission went. So, let me get this straight, you 3. Tsunade started, pointing at Guy. Yugao and Itachi fought Kisame and forced him to retreat. Hi Tsunade-sama, Yugao clarified, while the 2 of you fought Konan and a few of her clones. She continued, pointing at Naruto and Kakashi. Kakashi was able to end the fight relatively unscathed from what you told me. You decided to let her live in hopes that she would deliver a message to Pain, and to think about what you told her. Yay. Naruto said. Hearing it from Tsunade, it really didn't sound like the best plan ever, but he had his reasons for it. I can't think of a reason why you would do something like that. On second thought, I don't want to know. Tsunade said with a sigh, I'm getting too old for this shit. In all honesty, Tsunade-sama, Conan didn't come across as an evil person. She is blindly following her last remaining friend as he is going down a dark path, leading her to do the same. I wanted her to take my advice in hopes of pushing her, so to say, back on the path that Jiraiya had hoped they would go on. Whether or not she does is up to her. I will not spare her a second time should another fight between us occur. Naruto said. Make sure that you don't brat. Now we just need to figure out what to do about you, Itachi. Tsunade said as she looked at the older Uchiha. There are two ways we can do this. We can tell the village about the planned coup d'etat, and the role that you played in making sure it didn't happen. You would probably be welcomed back as a hero. If you do not want the village to know about it, then it won't be as easy. I could probably get the sentence brought down from execution to jail time, but I couldn't guarantee how long it would last. Tsunade said. I would prefer to not let the village know about what really happened that night. The Uchiha clan had fallen far enough from grace before I killed them, but my other option isn't that great either. The most likely case is I would be thrown in jail and have my chakra sealed off until I was released, making me unable to serve the village. Itachi replied, earning a nod from Tsunade. May I suggest something, Tsunade-sama? Naruto asked. Of course, Naruto-kun. Tsunade replied. I suggest leaving the announcement of Itachi's return to the village until I've been named the new Uzumaki clan head. After that you can explain to the village and the council that Itachi came back willingly and that I've taken him as my responsibility. Naruto explained. The council still won't like that. They will probably argue that he came back in an attempt to kill you, or someone else, before disappearing again. Tsunade said, receiving a nod from Naruto. Alright, then how about this? The Uzumaki clan has a seal similar to the caged bird seal that the Hyuga use, however I'm able to link it directly to a certain part of the person's body. If I was to say, link it to Itachi's heart, I would be able to kill him without a second glance should something happen. Itachi is loyal to this village, that much is certain, but the council and civilians will still be in fear of him. With my seal it will at least give them a means of security. It would also be safe to assume that the council would want Itachi close to me as much as possible, so he would probably be coming on missions with me, as well as being a temporary resident in my compound. Naruto said, and before you ask, the only person able to use a seal that has been placed is the person who has placed it, so Itachi will not have to worry about someone else trying to kill him. That could work. How do you feel about it, Itachi? Tsunade asked. Having to have the seal placed would be less than satisfactory, but from what I've seen so far, Naruto-kun has grown in leaps and bounds since I last saw him and I'm willing to place my trust in him. Given my other options, I don't really have much of a choice if I want to still be an active part of Konoha's shinobi forces anyways. Itachi said, earning a nod from Tsunade. Alright, well I will call a council meeting in a few days then, just lay low till then. Naruto's compound should have everything you need to last a few days, training grounds included. Tsunade said before she dismissed the five of them. Come on, Itachi. Might as well show you your new hideout for the next few days. Naruto said as he grabbed Itachi's shoulder and left via Shunshin, followed shortly by Yugao. So, Tsunade started, either of you want to make a bet on when Yugao or Naruto will confess their feelings for one another? Tsunade asked with a smirk. Hopefully not long, Tsunade-sama, I think it would be good for the both of them. Kakashi replied with Guy nodding in agreement. With Naruto and Itachi appeared just inside the gate of his compound, and not being one for admiring scenery, Itachi requested being shown to his room right away. After putting his things away, Naruto gave Itachi a quick tour of the house and the yard, making sure Itachi knew where each of the training fields was located. Well, That's pretty much it, Itachi. If you need anything else, just ask me or Yugao. Breakfast is usually prepared around 8 am, and supper is usually around 6, depending on if we have a mission or not. Naruto said. After receiving a nod from Itachi, he set out to find Yugao, who he had felt enter shortly after arriving with Itachi. Yugao-chan, are you in here? Naruto asked as he knocked on the door. Not getting a reply but hearing a slight rustling in the room, he opened the door, only to go rigid in shock. On the far side of the room, Yugao was bent over rummaging through something in her drawer in nothing but a wet towel that left almost nothing to the imagination. Naruto's eyes trailed up from the floor, following Yugao's long silky smooth legs right up to her heart-shaped rear end. As Yugao straightened up, Naruto noticed how her long purple hair flowed to the small of her back, and he had to admit that it looked a lot better let down. Then she turned, going as stock still as Naruto had, giving him time to take in her beautiful curvy figure from the front, taking in the way her bounced slightly from her sudden stop, before looking up to her beautiful face that had gone a shade of red not even Hinata could match. Naruto oh 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 oh. Yugao yelled, breaking Naruto out of his trance. Ah, I'm sorry Yugao-chan, I had no idea. Naruto shouted as he dodged the various amount of things Yugao found to throw at him. Where the did she pull that sword from? He thought to himself as a ninjutsu embedded itself in the wall directly behind him. That doesn't excuse the fact that you were staring at me in nothing but a towel. Yugao argued. I said I was sorry, I was just captivated by your beauty, that's all. Naruto said honestly, causing Yugao to stop throwing things and blush once again. Really? She stammered out. Yay. I didn't know you had just gotten out of the shower, I just wanted to know if you wanted to train or something. Naruto said, I'll be downstairs whenever you're dressed, come find me and we can talk. Sure, but you owe me for this, Naruto-kun. Yugao said. Naruto just waved it off and left, leaving a flustered Yugao alone in her room. He said I was beautiful. Sometime later, after Yugao had gotten dressed, the two of them decided to waste a little time doing a little kenjutsu practice. And after nursing the numerous cuts and lacerations Yugao had left over his body, Naruto had offered to take her for a walk around Konoha in the early evening light, eventually winding up on the Yondaime's head. The two of them laid there in relative silence as they gazed up towards the sky as the stars began to line the night sky. You know, Yugao started, gaining Naruto's attention, aside from that little stunt you had walking in on me earlier, I had a lot of fun this afternoon, Naruto-kun, thank you. You aren't going to forget that for a while, are you? Naruto sighed out, earning a slight giggle from Yugao as she shook her head. Whatever, I'm glad that you did, because I did too. It's been a long time since we have been able to hang out like this. Yay, Yugao said. In the ANBU they hardly had time to hang out as just regular friends with all the missions and training they were forced to do, but she had always enjoyed the moments of peace they had managed to share over the past 3 years. Hey Yugao-chan, can I ask you something? Naruto said. Of course Naruto-kun. I need to talk to Hinata about how I feel, but I don't know how to tell her without destroying what little confidence she has left. Naruto started. While we were never really talked during my time in the academy, I still consider her a friend. I want to let her down without hurting her too much. I think that, no matter how you tell her, you are going to hurt her. Yugao started, causing Naruto to sigh. That girl, whatever her reasons may be, has devoted herself to you. I watched as she used to follow you everywhere when the two of you were younger. She watched as your hard work and determination overcame the obstacles in your early life, and I think that she wanted to eventually be like you, in hopes that she would gain your attention and would return her feelings. I see. I don't know what to do, Yugao-chan. I've faced S-ranked criminal after S-ranked criminal and never faltered, but when it comes to girls I turn into a complete idiot. Naruto said, causing Yugao to giggle at his antics. I'm sure you will find a way, Naruto-kun, you always do. Yugao said with a smile. Thanks Yugao-chan. Naruto said, earning a nod from said purple-haired woman, before she slid a little closer to Naruto and rested her head on his chest, enjoying the sound of his heartbeat. What are you doing, Yugao-chan? Naruto stammered as he stiffened slightly at the feeling of Yugao's head on his chest, earning another giggle from her. Looking up, Yugao noticed the slight red hue on Naruto's cheeks, and after a moment of hesitation decided to go one step further as she reached up and cupped Naruto's cheek, earning a curious look from the blonde before his eyes widened as he felt her lips press against his. It took Naruto a few moments to realize what was going on, but as soon as he did, he returned the kiss, making Yugao smile on the inside. The kiss held no lust, no want, just years of pent-up emotions. No words were needed to describe what the two of them were feeling. The kiss was doing that better than words ever could. Does this mean that? Naruto started, but was stopped as Yugao put a finger up against his lips. I want to take this slow, Naruto-kun. I'm not sure what I feel for you right now, but I don't want to miss this chance. For now, let's just enjoy this. Yugao said as she placed her head back on his chest. A soft smile graced her lips as she felt Naruto wrap his arm around her shoulders, pulling her closer to his body. Yay, I could get used to this. They both thought. Naruto woke later than usual the next morning, having gotten in fairly late from his time spent with Yugao on the monument. He felt as though he needed the little extra sleep. Walking into the bathroom, Naruto's mind flashed to the day before, walking in Yugao after her shower, training with her, then proceeding to spend the rest of the day with her, leading up to the talk about Hinata and finally the kiss. After that, they had laid there in relative silence, gazing up at the stars until Yugao fell asleep on Naruto's chest, which in turn prompted the young man to carry her back to his estate before placing her gently on her bed in an attempt to not awaken her. Unfortunately for Naruto, sleep was not as easy for him to claim as it had been Yugao, and he spent a few more hours thinking over everything that had happened with Yugao. He had a lot of questions for his longtime friend and teammate, and he was hoping he would get some answers over breakfast. After finishing up in the bathroom, Naruto dressed in regular civilian clothing before heading downstairs. Expanding his senses, he felt Itachi training in the backyard. While he could feel Yugao was still in her room, or at least in her private bath, he couldn't really tell exactly. Sighing to himself, he made his way to the kitchen, putting a kettle on the stove for coffee and taking out the needed ingredients for breakfast. Naruto cracked a couple eggs into a plastic bowl before adding milk and whisking it all together and pouring it into a frying pan, letting it sit while he placed strips of bacon in another pan. He had been so engrossed in what he was doing that he didn't feel or hear Yugao come into the kitchen, stopping and watching as the blonde scrambled the eggs, while at the same time making sure not to burn the bacon. A small smile graced her lips as she watched him prepare enough for three, before dishing out an equal amount on separate plates and placing them on the table. That smells delicious, Naruto-kun. Yugao said as she made her presence known, startling the blonde slightly. Ah, Yugao-chan, you startled me. Naruto said. How long have you been standing there? Long enough, she replied with a smirk as she took her seat at the table, followed shortly by Naruto. How did I get home? The last thing I remember is cuddling with you after the kiss, then I woke up in my bed. Well, you eventually fell asleep on me. Naruto started, earning a slight blush of embarrassment from Yugao. After that, I carried you here and put you in your bed before going to sleep myself. Sorry for making you carry me here, Naruto-kun, you could have woken me up. Yugao stuttered, her blush deepening a bit. Nah, it wasn't a big deal, Yugao-chan, you looked so peaceful and beautiful sleeping I couldn't bring myself to wake you up. Naruto said, before his eyes widened and he realized he said a little more than he meant to. You know, Yugao started, that's the second time you have called me beautiful in as many days, Naruto-kun. Sorry, Naruto said, making a frown appear on Yugao's face. For what? I don't know, everything I guess, calling you beautiful, the kiss, I know you still upset over Hayate Bu. Slap. Don't apologize for anything. Yugao started, hands trembling, I love it when you call me beautiful, it makes me feel something inside I haven't felt since Hayate-kun died. I may still be upset over his death, but the death of a loved one is not something that can be easily forgotten or stored away, but that doesn't mean I can't move on. Yugao-chan, Naruto started, but a wave from Yugao cut him off. The kiss was my idea, she started softly. I don't know why I did it. I was scared that you wouldn't accept me or that you wouldn't return it, and I would have ruined the friendship that we built up over the years. I don't know what this feeling is, Naruto-kun, but you have helped me in so many ways over the past 3 years and been there for me when I needed you. If you would have me, I want to try and pursue a relationship with you. Are you sure, Yugao-chan? If you're not ready, it can wait. Naruto said. Yugao smiled at his thoughtful gesture but shook her head. I'm sure, Naruto-kun. I can't think of anyone else I would rather want to pursue this with. Yugao replied with a small smile. Well, Naruto started with a small smile, I wouldn't be much of a gentleman to refuse you now, would I? Idiot. Yugao said as she practically jumped over the table and embraced Naruto. You shouldn't say yes just because I want this. I know, and I'm not. I would be lying if I said I didn't find you attractive, Yugao-chan. You're a beautiful and strong kunoichi. You've been a constant in my life, whether it was when I was younger or when we were in ANBU together. I had developed somewhat of a crush on you when I was younger, and through our years in ANBU it grew into something more, but I didn't want to act on it because I saw how upset you still were over Hayate. I decided a long time ago that regardless of what I was to you, I didn't like to see you cry, and that I would try to break you out of the depression you were in. Naruto said softly as he rubbed Yugao's back. Seems like that's sorta worked out, huh? Yugao didn't say anything, as she didn't trust herself to not break down and cry on Naruto's chest. Instead, she just nodded her head, her emotions being calmed by the soothing feel of Naruto's hand rubbing her back. Yugao-chan, what about my position as clan head though? It's highly likely the council will want me to take part in the CRA, and I don't want either of my parents' clans to die with me. Naruto asked after Yugao had calmed down. I know about the CRA, Naruto-kun. As long as you find women who care about you and not what clan you're from, I'm okay with it. I already know a couple women who have taken a slight interest in you, you just have to look around. Yugao replied. Kakashi-sensei said the same thing. Thanks, Yugao-chan. Naruto said. We should probably finish breakfast before Itachi comes in from training. I've got a few things I want to do today, starting with Hinata. Alright, Naruto-kun, I wanted to see if Kurenai or Anko were around today anyways. Yugao replied, earning a nod from Naruto. Since Jiraiya isn't in town, you should take your friends to the hot springs here in Konoha, my treat. Naruto said, earning a grateful nod from Yugao. I was actually going to go to Team 8's training ground after breakfast to see if I could catch up with both Hinata and Kurenai. Feel free to come with me if you want. That would save me the hassle of having to look for Kurenai later on, Naruto-kun, so I think I'll come with you. Yugao replied. Just give me a few minutes after breakfast to get ready and we can leave. I don't think she has the day off, so we should catch her team just as they are finishing up their morning routine. Sounds good. I've got a few things to do before I leave anyways. Naruto replied. Breakfast from that point was eaten in relative silence, Yugao offering compliments on Naruto's cooking every so often along with Itachi, who had come in a few minutes earlier. Finishing breakfast, Naruto created a few clones and had them gather the dishes before bringing them to the kitchen and washing them while he and Yugao went upstairs to get ready for their day. Being a day off for Naruto, he decided to change into a set of black slacks with a blue t-shirt that had the Uzumaki clan swirl on the back. Pumping a bit of chakra into one of the seals located on his hand, his ninjutsu appeared quickly and Naruto swung it around a few times before nodding to himself and sealing it back inside his hand. One could never be too careful. Naruto spotted Yugao coming out of her room as he made his way towards his estate's entrance and couldn't help the small red hue that appeared on his face. Yugao had the same choice as Naruto and decided to dress in civilian clothing, picking out a deep purple spring dress with lavender trim. I didn't know you had any dresses like that, Yugao-chan. Naruto said, earning the purple-haired woman's attention. It's something Hayate bought for me when we were dating. This is the first time I've worn it in over 3 years. Yugao replied with a sad smile. Sorry Yugao-chan, I didn't mean to bring that up. Naruto replied but was waved off from Yugao. It's alright Naruto-kun. Alright Yugao-chan, if you want I can give you some money and you can go shopping later as well. Are you sure Naruto-kun? I mean I've got plenty of money left from all the missions we did in ANBU, Yugao said before Naruto stopped her. I'm sure Yugao-chan, I got a lot of money from my parents, as well as everything that was left from missions I did. I don't mind spending my money on you, isn't that what boyfriends do? Naruto replied with a sly smirk. I guess so, Yugao said with a small smile before taking Naruto's arm and leading him down the stairs. You can woe me with your words later, we need to get to the training ground before Kurenai-chan and her team leave. Team 8's a training ground. You guys did really well today. Kurenai said as she gazed across at her team. Having just finished morning training they had decided to relax by the training ground's small pond. Even though you technically aren't my students anymore I'm still proud at the improvements you've made since becoming Chunin and Jonin. Hehe. It's not that big of a deal Kurenai-sensei. Kiba replied, and then sniffed the air as he got a whiff of a familiar scent. Naruto seems to be approaching from the other side of the training ground Kurenai-sensei, maybe he's coming to ask about his offer to train you. I don't know Kiba, I can sense someone else with him as well. Kurenai said, maybe he is just passing through. A few moments later Team 8 watched as Naruto and Yugao dropped down into the training ground. Hey there Kurenai-chan, Yugao said as she walked towards them, arms still linked with Naruto's, earning surprised and saddened looks from her team. Hey Yugao-chan, it seems you've finally decided to move on. Kurenai said with a small smile, earning a nod from her friend. Yay, it took a while, and I kinda had to make the first move but it all worked out. Yugao replied as she brought herself a little closer to Naruto. I woulda made the first move if had known you liked me. Naruto argued back, I didn't want to say anything then ruin the friendship we had by making it awkward. Right, Yugao replied sarcastically. So what did you two come here for? Kurenai asked, did you come to talk about your offer Naruto? Well not really, I need to discuss a few things with someone. Naruto said, earning a nod from Kurenai. But if you have an answer for me I'd love to hear it. I'd like for you to help me with taijutsu and ninjutsu. Kurenai said, and if you could, my stamina and chakra reserves as well. That shouldn't be a problem Kurenai, those are my areas of expertise after all. Naruto said, you won't be able to reach my chakra and stamina levels for obvious reasons, but I'll be able to get you up to Yugao-chan's level at least. Thank you Naruto. Kurenai replied with a grateful smile, receiving a nod from said blonde. Kurenai-chan, I was wondering if you wanted to go to the hot springs after. We can invite Enko and Hana as well, Naruto's treat. Yugao asked her friend. Sure, but I can pay for myself. Kurenai replied, not really wanting Naruto to be spending money on her. I insist Kurenai. Any friends of Yugao-chan are friends of mine so I really don't mind. Naruto spoke up, now the training will have to wait a few days till after the next council meeting as there are certain things going on at my compound that few people are allowed to know right now. So I will find you or ask Yugao-chan to get you when things have settled down alright. Sure. Kurenai replied, a little interested in what Naruto was hiding but wouldn't push the issue. So, now that that's done I need to talk to Hinata about a few things. Naruto said, earning a surprised look and light blush from the shy girl. What about Naruto-kun? Hinata stammered. Well it's kind of private so I would prefer if we talked somewhere else if that's okay with you. Naruto said, earning a nod from Hinata. Good, I want you to meet me on top of the Hokage monument in a few minutes. Alright Naruto-kun, Hinata said before making a hand sign and disappearing in a swirl of leaves. Alright, Yugao-chan, I will see you back at the compound later, have fun with your friends. Naruto said, don't hesitate to buy anything you may need as well. Naruto, wait. Kiba shouted before Naruto could disappear. What do you need, Kiba? He asked. I'm sorry for how I treated you before. You are my friend and I let my pride get in the way, I shouldn't have acted like I did. Kiba said apologetically. Don't worry about it, Kiba. If you ever need a sparring partner, feel free to seek me out. Now, I've got something that I need to deal with. Naruto said before disappearing to the Hokage monument. What is he going to talk to her about? Kiba asked Yugao. The truth was all Yugao said as she turned and started talking with Kurenai again, earning a confused look from Kiba before he shrugged it off and left. I hope everything works out, Naruto-kun. With Naruto and Hinata, Naruto let out a sigh as he appeared on the Hokage monument and saw Hinata nervously poking her fingers together as she looked over the village. He didn't exactly know what to call the girl in front of him. Having never really interacted with the girl, he couldn't really say they were close. Sure, they had gone to the academy together, and looking back he realized that she had been one of the few to actually cheer him on back then, albeit from a fair distance, and that had been the main reason she had earned a spot on his list of people he wanted to protect. If he had realized her feelings a little earlier, then maybe they could have had a future together as more than friends, but things hadn't turned out like that and he felt bad for what he was about to do. It's for her own good. I'm not who she thinks I am, at least not anymore. Hinata, Naruto said, earning said girl's attention as she let out a low eep. We need to talk about a few things. Oh, okay, Naruto-kun. Hinata replied. I know about your feelings for me, Hinata. Naruto started, surprising the young girl. She was about to say something, but Naruto put his hand up and stopped her. I would like for you to wait till I'm finished before saying anything. Oh, okay, she replied lowly. Now, I've grown a lot in the past few years, both physically and mentally, as I'm sure you have noticed, and I realized how stupid I was before for not realizing how you felt about me. Naruto started, getting Hinata's hopes up slightly, and while I'll admit that you are a strong kunoichi and easily one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, I simple can't return your feelings. Naruto regretted saying those words as soon as the devastated look appeared on Hinata's face. Cursing himself slightly, he reached out to comfort the girl only to have his hand slapped away. Why? Why? She shouted, tears threatening to fall from her eyes. These feelings you have, they are based on the person that I used to be, but even then that was never who I truly was. We never really talked, or did anything together. How can you have feelings for someone you hardly know? Naruto said, trying to calm her down. I'll admit that if I had realized your feelings before I went into ANBU, things probably would have been different, but I was too stupid and you were too shy. How about now? Give me a chance to get to know you, Naruto-kun. Hinata said, you said things may have been different if we had got to know each other, so why not now? I've watched you since we were in the academy. Seeing how you never gave up gave me the strength to overcome my own obstacles. You're wrong, Naruto said, your strength is your own. I may have given you determination, but not strength. You wanted to become strong so that I would notice you, hoping that I would return your feelings, is that correct? Somewhat, Hinata said, I wanted to become strong to prove my family wrong about me, and with that strength I would be able to change my clan. I see. You may not know this, but I noticed you during your fight with Neji in the Chunin exams. You showed great determination and a will to not give up even fighting a stronger opponent. That earned my respect, but I can't have feelings for someone I don't know. While it's very possible that I may come to like you in time, I do not think your father would agree. As the last remaining person in my clan, it's also very likely I'll be forced to take multiple wives. As you noticed earlier, I'm already with Yugao-chan. You are a caring person, Hinata, but something tells me that you wouldn't be willing to share me with anyone else. Naruto said, watching in amusement as a still annoyed-looking Hinata blushed at the double meaning to his last statement. Hey, it's always the shy ones. Whatever guy ends up with her will be one lucky son of a bitch. Naruto thought. I'm sorry Hinata, I really am. I remember how you were always nice to me in the academy and cheered me on, even if it was from a distance. I'm sorry that I can't give you what you want Hinata. Naruto said. Hearing the sincerity in his voice Hinata calmed down a little. It's okay Naruto-kun, I kind of understand. Hinata replied with a sad smile. Do you think I'm weak Naruto-kun? No, I think the exact opposite in fact. Like I said earlier you're a very strong kunoichi. I believe that one day, you will be able to achieve your dream of uniting the two halves of the Hyuga family. When that day comes you will prove yourself to everybody else who still doesn't believe in you. Naruto said. Thank you Naruto-kun, that means a lot to me. No problem Hinata, even if I can't return your feelings you're still one of my friends, and I never abandon my friends. Naruto said, will you be okay with just being friends? Why yes Naruto-kun, it may take a while for me to get over my feelings for you, but I would still love it if you were a part of my life. Hinata replied with a small smile. Alright, I'm sure you won't have any issues finding someone else Hinata. With your personality and certain assets. Naruto started as he eyed Hinata, making the girl blush. I'm sure you will have men falling for you left and right. Pervert. Hinata stammered before leaving via Shunshin, making Naruto chuckle slightly. Lucky guy indeed. In aim. So, you let not only Itachi, but the Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi get away? Pain asked Konan as she finished telling him of her and Kisami's defeat. I'm sorry Nagato, wherever the Kyuubi Jinchuriki disappeared to over the past 3 years helped him grow stronger, I'm lucky that he didn't kill me. Konan replied. Failure is not acceptable Konan, if you were anyone else I would have killed you. Because of your failure Konoha now has information on all of our members, do not fail me again or you might not get off as easy. Pain said, earning a slight wince from Konan. Would you really go so far as to kill the only friend you have left? Konan asked somewhat hesitantly. If it means that true peace would be easier to obtain, then yes. I will do what needs to be done to usher in an era of true peace. Pain replied. He would really kill me, maybe Naruto-san was right, maybe the Nagato I once knew is no more, Konan thought, then her eyes widened, no. Nagato wouldn't do that, I'm just overthinking this, I need some fresh air to help me think. Konan walked the streets of AIM, a thoughtful frown on her face as she thought about what Nagato had said to her earlier. Shaking her head of those thoughts she looked around, noticing how the people of AIM gave her a wide berth in the road. Some would talk in hushed whispers with one another while looking her way, but most avoided eye contact completely. Konan was so wrapped up in her thoughts that she was almost knocked over as she felt a small body crash into her. Looking down Konan's eyes softened slightly as saw who had bumped into her, a young girl with dark red hair and dark green eyes wearing nothing but a raggedy old dress. Are you alright young one? Konan asked as she bent over to help the girl up. Growing up an orphan Konan had developed somewhat of a soft spot for young orphans and tried to help as much as she could. She was shocked when the young girl tried to scurry backwards, fear written all over her young face. I'm sorry. Please don't hurt me. She stammered as she tried to scoot backwards away from Konan. I don't want to be part of some experiment. Please don't kill me. I'm not going to hurt you, I'm just trying to help. Konan said, trying to reason with the girl. I don't believe you. She yelled as she got to her feet and darted into a nearby alleyway and out of Konan's sight. Konan stood stock still in the middle of the street, the people around her whispering to each other about the scene that had just taken place, whispering to each other about how the angel was trying to steal the young girl for her God's experiments. Seeing the fright in the little girl's eyes and hearing how the villagers were whispering about her brought back what Naruto had said to her. He may have freed the people of AIM, but they still live in fear of him. Naruto's words came crashing back in full force as she found herself starting to believe them. It was clear from how the villagers talked that they feared Nagato and what he did in the tower, but she had never gone out of her way to harm the people of AIM, yet they still feared her. They called her the angel, yet feared her as a weapon, one that would bring nothing but death and despair. Is this how the tailed beast weapon will be seen? Nagato wants to create peace for the world the same way he did in AIM, by killing off those who oppose him while the rest cower in fear. There has to be a better way, one where we can live together peacefully without fear. I will try to show Nagato that the path he is walking down could never lead to true peace. If he can't accept that what he plans to do is wrong, then I don't know if I would be able to follow him anymore. But where would she go? Who could she turn to if not the only friend and link she had to a childhood long past? Aside from Konoha, none of the other villages knew much about Akatsuki, making it a safe bet that she would be able to get in one without much trouble. If she left though, she was sure Nagato would track her down, intent of either killing her or taking her prisoner so his secrets wouldn't get out. None of the hidden villages aside from Konoha and possibly Kumo would have the ability to protect her from him. Perhaps Yahiko, perhaps your dream does live on, just not through Nagato like I had originally thought. Would you help me if I asked you, Naruto Uzumaki? Few days later, Konoha. Tsunade rubbed her temples as she thought of how much paperwork the next council meeting would cause. Do we really have to announce both of you today? Tsunade asked, hoping to lessen the amount of paperwork that cut into her drinking time. Yes you do, Ba-chan. Naruto said, now please stop asking. Tsunade decided to come to Naruto's complex earlier to speak with both Naruto and Itachi instead of calling them to her office. They were lucky enough that Itachi remained hidden when her first entered the village, and she didn't want to push their luck any further. Naruto is right, Tsunade-sama, it would be best to get this over and done with as soon as possible. I'm not sure what Akatsuki will do now that they have lost one of their members. I do not think there are any other shinobi currently strong enough to fight Biju, so I believe that Kisame will work by himself. I know that Sasori and Deidara are in charge of capturing the Ikibi, but that might change now. Itachi said. What do you mean? Naruto asked, interested in who might be going after Gaara. Well, Kisame and I were in charge of getting the Kyuubi from you, but with me gone I doubt Pain would send just one person after you, even if it is Kisame. With me gone he will have to change who is in charge of obtaining each Biju. By himself Kisame could probably take any of them up to the Gobi, so Pain might make him switch with one of the other groups so that there will be two people hunting you. My guess is that he will switch Kisame out with both Deidara and Sasori, who are in charge of capturing the Ikibi, or Hidan and Kakuzu who are in charge of Nibi. Hidan and Kakuzu are the so-called zombie brothers, right? Naruto asked. With info on who might be going after both Gaara and Yugito, Naruto would be better prepared should either of them use one of the reverse summoning tags that he gave them. Yay, I don't really know a lot about either of them. Kakuzu is a bounty hunter from Taki, rumored to have fought the Shidaime Hokage. Apparently he can steal other people's hearts and use them as his own, which is why he has been able to live for this long. Aside from that I don't really know a lot about him. Hidan is a Jushinist from Yugakure. He carries a large three-bladed scythe around with him at all times, leading me to believe that he is a close-ranged specialist. From what I've heard, if he cuts you with it he can perform a ritual where he consumes your blood and any damage inflicted to him is redirected to whoever's blood he ingested. Hidan is the more problematic of the two in my opinion. Unless you completely destroy his body I'm not sure if you can kill him or not, at least Kakuzu will die after his 5 hearts are destroyed. Itachi explained, earning a nod from Naruto and Tsunade. I see. Naruto started. Either way, whoever goes after Yugito or Gaara will be problematic. We will have to be ready if they use my reverse summoning tags. Alone I could probably deal with Kisame, but I'm not really comfortable fighting against 2S ranked shinobi by myself. If the tags are to be used, Itachi, I will most likely be bringing you with me. Naruto said, receiving a nod from the older Uchiha. I can understand why you gave Gaara a tag the last time you were in Suna, but I can't quite understand why you gave Yugito one. Our villages don't even have an alliance with each other, we owe Kumo nothing. Tsunade asked. I know that, but there is an unexplainable connection that we Jinchuriki have with one another. If I can do something to help prevent Akatsuki from claiming a tailed beast, then that is just extra. Besides, helping Kumo's Jinchuriki could lead to an alliance with them. She is close to the Raikage and his little brother who is the other Jinchuriki. If I asked her, she would probably try and convince the Raikage into one, giving Konoha another ally. Naruto explained, earning a nod from Tsunade. I guess you do have a point, brat, but I'm going to leave now. I've got a few things I need to check before the council meeting. Be at my office in a few hours and we can all go together. Tsunade said as she stood up and made her way towards the front entrance. All right, we'll be there. What about Itachi though? I'm sure he could sneak into your office, but there is no way he would be able to sneak into the council chambers and remain hidden, not with Hiashi and the rest of the shinobi council. Naruto asked as he walked Tsunade out. You're right, that's why we are going to get Itachi out of the way first. When the council explodes, I'll explain a few things, then it will lead into you being named as the new Uzumaki clan head. Trust me on this, after years of headaches I'm finally able to get back at the civilian council and the elders. Tsunade said with a sick grin, causing Naruto to sweat drop. Right, I trust you. Naruto replied, receiving a glare from Tsunade before she left. Smartass. Few hours later, Konoha Council. Tsunade entered the council chambers flanked by both Naruto and cloaked Itachi. Some of the civilian council members frowned when they saw Naruto but knew not to say anything. The relationship that Naruto and Tsunade had was no secret to anyone and they thought it best to not anger the Hokage. Tsunade-sama. One of the civilian members started, why is Uzumaki-san here, and who is that cloaked figure? Naruto is the reason this council meeting has been called today. As for the other person, that will be answered shortly. Tsunade said as she sat down. What is so important about Uzumaki-san that you would want to call a council meeting? A man with pale white eyes asked. Things have happened during the past 3 years and Naruto has learned a few things that we decided to share with you. Tsunade said. Before we get to that though, there is someone who has returned to Konoha after being absent for many years. The moment Itachi removed his hood, the room erupted into chaos. The civilians looked on fearfully as the shinobi side stood in a battle-ready stance. The ANBU in the room also appeared and circled Itachi and Naruto, waiting for the signal to try and end his life. Stand down. Tsunade's voice boomed throughout the council chambers. What is the meaning of this, Tsunade-sama? Itachi is an S-ranked criminal. What is he doing here? One of the civilians yelled. Indeed he is, however he has come back to Konoha willingly, and has been placed under the protection of a clan head. Tsunade said, making each of the clan heads look at each other questioningly. But he killed the rest of his clan. Who's to say he won't do it again? There are certain things regarding that night that you don't know, and don't need to know. Tsunade replied, fact of the matter is, Itachi has come back to Konoha willingly, giving us information on the S-ranked criminal group known as Akatsuki. Why is this the first time we are hearing about this group, Tsunade-sama? A feral-looking woman with 2 red marks running down her face asked. This woman was Sume Inzuka, the current matriarch of the Inzuka clan. We have been monitoring the Akatsuki for the past 3 years. As of right now we know what they want, just not why. Tsunade said. I assume whatever they want it's something troublesome, right? Shikaku Nara, the current leader of the Nara clan, asked. Akatsuki is gathering the Jinchuriki. Over the past 3 years they have been laying low while focusing on earning money and gathering intel on all the Jinchuriki. According to Itachi-san's report they work in pairs of 2, and each group has recently been given a target Jinchuriki to capture. Tsunade said. This would obviously mean that I am a target. Naruto said, earning the council's attention, as well as the Kazekage Gaara, and a Kunoichi from Kumo I had the pleasure of meeting on my last mission. Who is assigned to take Naruto? Hiashi asked. He had never really hated the boy for what he held, but at the same time had never done much to help him. I was. Itachi said calmly, causing a few in the room to tense again, along with Kisame Hoshigaki, former member of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. How do we know this isn't just a trap for you to capture Naruto-san easily? One of the civilian members asked. While no one on the civilian side really liked Naruto, they realized the danger a group such as Akatsuki posed. You don't. Itachi replied calmly. Aside from the fact that I've returned to Konoha willingly and given you information on the group I used to work for, none of you know anything about me, or the reason why I did what I did. But at the same time I've been placed under the protection of a clan head, giving you little to no power over what can be done with me. Yes, you said that earlier. But what clan are you under protection from? From the looks if it the rest of the clan heads present, which are all of them, have no idea what you are talking about. Inoichi Yamanaka, current head of the Yamanaka clan and information gathering specialist from INT department asked. That's a good question Inoichi-san, one that leads into the next part of this meeting. Tsunade said, gathering the attention of the council again. It's come to my attention that a clan recently thought to be long dead, still has one living member. What do you mean Tsunade-sama? What clan? Sum asked. As many of you know, Kushina Uzumaki was from Uzushiogakure and daughter of the Uzumaki clan head at that time. Tsunade said, earning nods from around the room. That she was, but Kushina-chan has been dead for 16 years. Sum stated. That is true, Kushina has been dead for 16 years, but her son hasn't. Tsunade said, earning surprised looks from the shinobi side, before they slowly turned their gaze towards Naruto. You can't mean. Kushina-chan's son is. Yes, Kushina's legacy, along with the Uzumaki clans, has been living in Konoha under our very noses for the past 16 years. Naruto is the son of Kushina Uzumaki and the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. Tsunade finished. If that were true, then Naruto-san would be the heir to both the Namikaze and Uzumaki clans, but you only referred to a single clan. Shikaku said. That's right I did. After much thought on Naruto's part he has decided to take up his mother's name and not his father's. Tsunade said, which means that the Uzumaki clan will be reborn in Konoha. But what about Yondaime's legacy? Surely if Naruto-san takes Kushina-san's name then it's likely the Yondaime's family will be forgotten. Sure the Namikaze weren't a big clan like the Hyuga or Uchiha, but they were still powerful. Inoichi asked. My father's family will never be forgotten. I've already taken preparations in my clan's compound to ensure that the Namikaze name will forever be remembered by my family. If you are so worried about knowledge of his family being forgotten I would suggest that you do the same. Naruto said. We are getting ahead of ourselves here. I have yet to see one piece of evidence that Naruto-san is in fact related to either Kushina-san or Minato. A man wrapped in bandages said, earning a nod from the civilian side while Tsunade scowled slightly. Very well then Danzo-san, if it is so hard to believe then I have prepared both a marriage contract for Kushina and Minato, as well as Naruto's both certificate and blood samples that I tested myself. Tsunade said as she placed a small stack of papers on the table. Danzo took the papers and read them over carefully, before grunting and passing them on to the advisors. Is that sufficient enough evidence for you Danzo-san? Tsunade asked, receiving a stiff nod from the bandaged shinobi. Good. Naruto will be required to attend all council meetings from here on out unless there is an emergency and he is required. Is there anything else that you want to discuss? A couple things actually, one being what we are going to do with Itachi, who I'm assuming is under Naruto-san's protection, and since Naruto is the last of his clan will he be taking more than one wife to help restore the Uzumaki? Choza, the head of the Akamichi clan and last member of the famous Inoshika-cho formation asked. Yes, I am still not convinced that Itachi's intentions towards this village are good. Danzo said, earning a glare from Tsunade as he had played the key role in convincing Itachi to slaughter the Uchiha. Itachi has been placed under my care and protection. If that is not enough for you, then I have a proposition that I really hoped I wouldn't be forced to use. Naruto said. Go on. The Uzumaki clan has a seal that is similar to the Hyuga's caged bird seal. However, I can make it so that the seal only affects a certain area of the body, along with making it so the seal can only be activated by myself and Tsunade-sama. Naruto explained, if I was to say, attach the seal to Itachi's heart, it could be used as a kill switch. Shikaku finished. Being the head of a clan well known for being the most intelligent in Konoha, Shikaku could tell there was more going on here, but he didn't quite know what. Exactly. I can attach the seal to Itachi's heart. Adding both mine and Tsunade-sama's blood to the seal will make it so that only we could activate it. That being said, we have already discussed with Tsunade-sama that Itachi will be under my watch, meaning when I go on missions, he comes with me, so adding Tsunade's blood is only a precautionary method if something were to happen to me. Naruto said, earning a nod from the council members. That would be satisfactory, Naruto-san. Now, what about our other question? Danzo asked. I will be taking more than one spouse. Naruto said, earning grins from the civilian side. However, I know the laws. I cannot be placed into an arranged marriage till after my 18th birthday, giving me 2 more years to find suitable wives. You know how many you are required to have, right? Danzo asked with a frown. He had hoped that Naruto wouldn't have read up on clan laws yet so he could force him into marriages that would benefit his plans for Konoha. Yes, at the minimum I am required to take 4 wives. I'm already in a relationship with someone right now. While I don't really like the idea of having more than one wife, if someone who I approve of was to come along, then I wouldn't pass up the opportunity, as I don't want to be forced into a loveless marriage with some merchant's spoiled daughter. Naruto said. May I ask who you are in a relationship with, Naruto-san? Sume asked, already thinking of encouraging her daughter to get to know the young blonde. I guess it is alright, Yugao Azuki, my old ANBU partner who is now living at my estate alongside Itachi and myself. Naruto replied, earning a nod from the Inzuka matriarch. We will announce Naruto's heritage and Itachi's return to the village tomorrow. If there are no more questions or concerns regarding Naruto, you two are free to go. Tsunade said. Earning no protest, Naruto and Itachi left the council chambers, agreeing to meet with Tsunade later to apply the seal. Grass country. Kukuku, are you sure this information is true? Yes, Orochimaru-sama. It seems that Itachi Uchiha has returned to Konoha after leaving the Akatsuki. They even sent 4 high-ranked shinobi to help him get away. Do you know who they sent, Kabuto? Orochimaru asked. They sent a ranked shinobi, Kakashi Hatake, Yugao Azuki, and Maeda Guy, along with recently promoted Naruto Uzumaki, whose bingo book entry was recently updated to S-ranked. Kabuto replied. The sound of shattering glass could be heard from a dark corner of the room. The only thing that could be seen through the darkness was a pair of angry Sharingan eyes. Itachi, Naruto, I'll kill you both soon enough. Omake, how not to tell Hinata you don't have feelings for her? Remember the M rating. Yugao-chan, I don't know how to tell Hinata that I can't return her feelings. We were never really close, but she is still my friend and I don't want to hurt her. Naruto said as he stood beside Yugao on the Hokage monument. I don't know, Naruto-kun. That girl is as bad as those girls Ino and Sakura were with Sasuke before he left, just that she is too shy to actually do anything about it. I think that no matter how you say it, you are going to hurt her feelings. Yugao replied. That's what I was afraid of, Naruto said, sighing as he ran his hand through his hair. Yugao was about to say something when a man wearing a black hoodie and glasses with gray hair jumped in front of her, knocking her off balance as she fell down the forehead of the Yondaime Hokage. Dude, what the? We were having a heart-to-heart there, and why are you wearing glasses? It's nighttime. For one, I'm here to help you with your problem with Hinata. For your second question, it's always sunny in Dutcheville. The man said, making Naruto sweat drop. Right. Well, the first thing you gotta do is take her out for coffee or something. After that you invite her back to your house. When you get there, you tell her to sit on your couch while you go grab a beer, after that. The man said as he turned away, almost as if he was looking at an imaginary camera. You were right in the. After the words left his mouth, both he and Naruto felt heavy bloodlust coming from behind them. Turning, they both paled as they saw Yugao, ninjutsu drawn, glaring daggers at both of them. Why Yugao-chan IW wouldn't actually do that? Naruto said, trying to calm the purple-haired woman down. I know, Naruto-kun, I'm not mad at you. Yugao replied as she directed all her killing intent at the gray-haired man. Dude, you should run. Naruto whispered, earning a nod from him. Remember, right in the. He said as he disappeared in a burst of speed, followed closely by Yugao, who was currently screaming death threats. The just happened, although I can't deny that would be tempting. I'm sure she would be up for it. Naruto said, then once again paled as he felt ki rise up from behind him. Turning, Naruto saw another Yugao standing there. Shadow clone. Yugao nodded. Mercy. Sorry, Naruto-kun, all out of mercy. What about a head start? 5 seconds. Good enough. Naruto said as he disappeared in a flash, making Yugao think he had mastered the Hiraishin. For any of you that don't get it, there was a guy who did something like this on national news a while back. YouTube it.